In the heart of the 14th century, a time when knights in shining armor and grand castles dominated the landscape, a dark and tragic tale unfolded that would reshape the future of Europe and the Ottoman Empire. Imagine a world where chivalry and honor were the highest virtues, but also a world where ruthless ambition and desperation could lead to the downfall of mighty empires. This is the story of the Battle of Nicopolis, a clash that pitted the might of Christian Europe against the rising power of the Ottoman Turks. It's a tale of pride, arrogance, and the devastating consequences of underestimating your enemy. The year was 1396, and Europe was in a state of turmoil. The Ottoman Empire, led by Sultan Bajazet, was rapidly expanding its influence, threatening the Christian strongholds of the Balkans. The situation was dire, and Christian leaders across Europe knew they had to act. King Sigismund of Hungary, a man who had previously faced the Turks in battle, called for a crusade. The response was overwhelming. Knights, nobles, and soldiers from France, Burgundy, and other parts of Europe answered the call, eager to defend their faith and lands from the Muslim invaders. At the War Council in Buda, the capital of Hungary, tensions were high. Sigismund, a seasoned warrior, advised a cautious approach. He suggested waiting for the Turks to make the first move, arguing that the terrain and conditions would favor the defenders, but his advice fell on deaf ears. The French, led by nobles like the Duke of Burgundy and the Count of Nevers, were impatient. They were eager to prove their valor and feared that a defensive strategy would rob them of the glory they sought. The French were known for their chivalry, but they were also known for their arrogance. They believed that their superior weapons and tactics would easily defeat the Turks. The Crusaders set out with high hopes, marching down the left bank of the Danube River. The journey was long and arduous, and as they moved deeper into enemy territory, the French began to show their true colors. Discipline broke down, and the Crusaders engaged in acts of debauchery and pillage. They drank fine wines, feasted on rich foods, and indulged in pleasures that were far from the spirit of a holy crusade. The local people, already wary of the Crusaders, were further alienated by these actions. The monks and clerics who accompanied the army pleaded for restraint, but their warnings were ignored. One chronicler, the monk of St. Denis, would later write that the Crusaders were so immoral that it was as if they were talking to a deaf ass. The Crusader army, despite its internal conflicts, captured the Bulgarian city of Vidin without much resistance. The local prince, recognizing the overwhelming force of the invaders, surrendered quickly. This victory, however, did little to quell the tensions within the army. The French, eager for more glory, moved on to the fortress of Rachowa. In a fierce battle, they managed to capture the town, but their actions afterward were brutal. They pillaged and massacred the inhabitants, violating the terms of surrender. The Hungarians, allies of the Crusaders, were outraged by this betrayal. The French, in turn, accused the Hungarians of trying to steal their glory. These incidents only deepened the divisions within the army. As the Crusaders approached Nicopolis, a strategically important fortress on the Danube, they were confident that the Sultan would come to its defense. Nicopolis was a formidable stronghold, built on a high limestone cliff and surrounded by a moat and double walls. The French, led by the courageous but impulsive Marshal Bajazet, were determined to take the fortress by force. They had brought no siege weapons, believing that their valor and courage would be enough. For 2 weeks, they laid siege to Nicopolis, but their efforts were in vain. The lack of proper siege equipment and the steep slopes made it impossible to storm the walls. Discipline within the camp began to wane, and the Crusaders grew increasingly careless and confident. Meanwhile, Sultan Bajazet was on the move. He had learned of the Crusaders' plan and was determined to crush them. The Sultan's army, known for its speed and ferocity, was advancing rapidly. A reconnaissance party sent by Sigismund confirmed that the Turks were coming, but the French refused to believe it. They were convinced that the Sultan was a coward and would never dare to face them. Even when the inhabitants of Nicopolis celebrated the news of the Sultan's approach, the French dismissed it as a ruse. One of the few voices of reason was the Count of Coucy. A seasoned warrior and a man of practical wisdom, Coucy recognized the danger and wanted to gather more information. He led a small group of knights on a reconnaissance mission and managed to ambush a Turkish force, dealing them a significant defeat. This victory, however, only increased the French confidence and the jealousy of the constable, who felt that Coucy was stealing the limelight. On September 25, 1396, the Crusader army awoke to a devastating surprise. The Turkish army, led by Sultan Bajazet, had arrived. The night before, the Crusaders had drunk and celebrated, believing that the Sultan would never dare to attack. They were completely unprepared. The Turkish cavalry, known for their speed and agility, charged the Crusader camp with overwhelming force. The Crusaders, caught off guard and lacking discipline, were unable to mount an effective defense. The battle was a disaster. The French nobles, who had been so eager for glory, were among the first to fall. The Duke of Burgundy and the Count of Nevers were captured, and many others were killed. The Hungarian forces, led by Sigismund, managed to retreat, but the damage was done. The Battle of Nicopolis was a catastrophic defeat for the Christian Crusaders. The aftermath of the battle was grim. The captured Crusaders were treated harshly by the Turks. Many were executed, and others were sold into slavery. The defeat at Nicopolis had far-reaching consequences. It marked the end of the medieval crusading era and solidified the Ottoman Empire's position in the Balkans. The battle also exposed the flaws in the European chivalric code, showing that honor and bravery were not enough to overcome a well-organized and determined enemy. The Battle of Nicopolis is a cautionary tale about the dangers of pride and the importance of preparation. The Crusaders, blinded by their own arrogance, underestimated their enemy and paid a heavy price. It serves as a reminder that in war, as in life, humility and a clear understanding of one's strengths and weaknesses are crucial. The story of Nicopolis is a tragic chapter in history, but it also offers valuable lessons for future generations.